Greetings mechanics and welcome to this scrap mechanic tutorial in which we are going to be covering sliding doors, pistons, pushing, pulling blocks, anything that requires linear motion. Now, as anyone who has the game is aware, the only real moving block we have is the bearing, and the bearing tends to rotate things rather than push them. We have no native pistons, but it is possible to get that kind of behavior as so. A sliding door here, this is what we're going to be building, or rather, I'm going to be going over the mechanics of getting something like this to work and briefly demonstrating it. Now, this is a very exaggerated structure. You do not need nearly as much room or to have the components nearly as large as this, but for the sake of demonstration, I thought I'd build it this big so we can get inside and have a proper look around. Now, if I do that, you'll notice that this is all neatly tucked away and has pulled the door in. This is achieved via a switch, one controller, and for each limb, 3 separate bearings attached to some solid object, which is then expected to slide back and forth. But rather than going through and actually showing you on this, we're going to build something brand new in this tutorial. It shouldn't take very long. This is a very, very simple mechanic. Okay, as you can see, I've set up a little demonstration area here so that we can properly see the mechanism at work, so it's a little bit easier to follow what I'm doing. Now, you're going to need 3 functional components. 1, the control. 2, a switch. Now, it doesn't need to be a switch. It could be anything that can send a signal to the control. So it could be a sensor or a button, depending on how you want this to activate. If you use a sensor, you could have automatic sliding doors, for example, which would be kind of neat. Now, over here, we want the first of our bearings. And off this bearing, we are going to want to build up something like this. Now, you want to make sure that you're building on the bearing itself, because it really does matter how this is all connected. Now, the easiest way to check is that this control can only see bearings that are attached to the same structure it's attached to. So it can see this bearing, and we're going to go ahead and hook that up. Now, if we've done that correctly, then when we place this bearing up here, like so, then the control should still be able to see it, because this bearing is attached to something which is attached to this bearing, and that bearing is attached to the structure. Now, it is worth keeping an eye on that as you're building this out, because it's very easy to accidentally connect something to the wrong thing, and as a result, the control won't see the bearings. In fact, they won't actually be part of the same construct, and it can waste a lot of time. I'll be honest, I've done it once or twice myself so far, and it has been quite frustrating. Now, we want to build these straight down. Oh, I'm going to have a little bit of trouble connecting that there, which is a bit of a problem. Never mind. We'll use this for the sake of the tutorial here. Just connect that there and make sure it goes all the way down. So there we go. That's our limb. We put the third bearing here, and once again, we check the control to see that it can see it, and it can, so connect it up. So there we go. That's our mechanism limb. 1, 2, 3. Now, the way this works is that this bearing is going to rotate the whole construct 90 degrees clockwise, that is along the blue rotation. At that point, you can sort of imagine this laying flat. Now, what we want from this one is to rotate this limb in the opposite direction. So we want it rotating anti-clockwise so that this limb is lying flat out there. And finally, whatever's attached to this limb, which we're going to pop on there now, let's use something a little bit different so that we can see how it moves. Let's use a metal column. Let's grab you. So we want this attached to the beam there and going along in that direction. Now, effectively, we want this bearing to be rotating clockwise again to make sure that this remains on the ground. It may be a little bit difficult to visualize that just from my explanation, so let's hook this up. 90 degrees clockwise, 180 degrees anti-clockwise, and then 90 degrees clockwise again, and the combination of all 3 of these things should create this. There we go. Now, obviously, this isn't quite a long piston, so it doesn't quite have the same reach, but if we do that, then you can see it's working perfectly. Now, just to satisfy your curiosity that that isn't a result of this kind of lip here keeping it in line, we'll just make a very short beam, only 2 long. Oops, that was a little bit wrong there. Let's see if that works. As you can see, it goes to an effort to keep that facing the right way. Now, just looking at this, things clicking around in my mind, you could easily use this kind of system to make walking legs and actually make feet, then have the feet always remain level when it's looking to place down. But that is the simple mechanism for pistons or for sliding doors or for anything else where you want it to just slide along the ground instead of rotate around a fixed point. But there we have it. So I hope this video has been informative, and if you have anything else you would like me to do a tutorial on, then please leave a comment on the video below and I'll see if I can get round to it, or simply leave a like on the video to let me know that you're interested in more scrap mechanic tutorials in the future. But until next time, do take care.